content on Instagram, we know that it's valuable to sometimes be tagging location tags so that people can easily find us, or we can associate our content with specific locations. But what locations should we actually be using, and how often should we be using this feature? I had an influencer write into me earlier this week and we were chatting about when, where, and why you should be using location tags inside of your posts. So let me preface this by saying location tags are meant to associate a post, so a photo, a video, or a caption with a location. Now, sometimes we use these as influencers to say we're in this general area, we are in this city, or we're near this city, you can find me here. But more often than that, we can and should be using it when we're talking about specific locations inside of our content. So if your content doesn't have anything to do with the location, you shouldn't be tagging it. That just doesn't make sense. So you want to make sure that you're using the location tag on Instagram or any of the social platforms that allow you to location tag to specifically represent a local area that you are representing. So let's say you're traveling and you go to Las Vegas and you want to tag the hotel that you stayed at. That is a good choice. That will help people who are in that hotel to see what the hotel is like, and it helps them to get their name out as well. If, however, you are somebody who lives somewhere else and you just want the recognition and tag Las Vegas, the hotel, that's not going to help you and it's not going to help them. The algorithms are very, very aware of where you're posting from, of what you're posting. They know what's in your photos. They know what you're saying in your videos. They understand your caption. So if you're tagging things that don't make sense, it's not going to go well for you in the algorithm system. They've full out said for many years now, you cannot and should not be tagging things that don't make sense. A lot of people were tagging Kim Kardashian, for example. That's the example they use a lot over at Instagram. And they said if your caption or if your photo or if your reel has nothing to do with her, don't tag her. You're trying to get cred there and it's not going to help you. Do not tag things that don't make sense for that. So if you're writing or talking about or photographing a location, absolutely use those location tags. That's a good thing. If you are trying to represent yourself in a specific area, you can use it occasionally. So let's say you are a Charleston influencer and you live nearby Charleston, anywhere within like an hour is okay. You can occasionally tag something with that location, but don't do it in every single post because that doesn't make sense. It doesn't logically tag back to what you're doing. You can do it every once in a while if you've got a valuable piece of content you want that area to see, but other than that, it's really not going to help you very much. It's much more influential and beneficial to have that in your biography on your Instagram page where you're located, if that's what you're trying to do with this. So you should not be tagging every single post with a location. And if you are going to use locations, it has to be specific to the location that you are talking about in that post, or it needs to be the location that you are near. So one of the conversations that we had with this influencer was, is it okay to use the big city next to me, or do I have to use the small town I actually live in? As long as it's within driving distance, I would say 40 to 60 minutes. 60 is a little bit pushing it, but like, you know, I used to live near Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was about 40 minutes outside of Scranton. So if I was going to tag something, I could tag my small town, or I could tag the city, Scranton, next to me, which is a little bit of a drive, but in that general area. It's something where I could hop in my car and go to an event if I needed to without any problems there. So you can use things local to you, and I do recommend, if that is something you're doing, that you mix it up. If it applies to the small town, use that, and if it applies to the bigger city, use that. And if you are just kind of representing yourself every once in a while, once a week, once every 2 weeks is probably better, you can mix those up and you can be here and there because all of it is in that general vicinity. So when it comes to location tags, we are being very specific and intentional with how we are using them on Instagram to make sure we're making the most out of it, that we don't tank our algorithm rating because they're thinking you're just doing it for the credibility and for the credit on that one, and we don't want to do that, so they're not going to show as much of your content. And we want to make sure we're using it strategically if we're traveling, or if we're writing about a specific location, or speaking or showing off a specific restaurant, hotel, city, whatever it happens to be. So kind of mix them up so that people can see them in different areas and the algorithm knows what it is that you are talking about. And the more you prove to the algorithm you are truthful with what you are posting and how you're tagging and representing that, the more likely they will be to show you in other things. If you've got questions on Instagram or any of the social platforms, go ahead and drop them down below. And if you're just jumping out,